Welcome to Grant Writing Made Clear. The truth is, the grant writing process isn't always clear, but with the right guidance, proven actionable strategies, and expert insights, the process becomes easier, simpler, and yes, clearer. I am Dr. Trenette, your host of Grant Writing Made Clear, and a former nonprofit president turned distinguished professor and behavioral scientist with 2 decades of grant writing experience. I remember what it was like to be a busy nonprofit leader with little time but big financial sustainability concerns. Over the years, I have transformed my skills from securing $1,000 foundation grants to winning multi-million-dollar federal grants. I created this podcast in response to the grant writing coaching requests I've received from nonprofit leaders, entrepreneurs, and professors over the years. Join me each week as I reveal insider strategies and share key lessons that turn wishful thinking into winning applications. Pull up a seat and get ready to be inspired, empowered, and transformed. Whether you're a beginner or a pro looking to sharpen your skills and create a life you love, you're in the right place, my friend. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to Grant Writing Made Clear. I am your host, Dr. Trenette, and today we're tackling one of the most common and crucial questions in grant writing. How do you come up with a fundable idea that funders cannot resist? If you've ever felt stuck trying to figure out where to begin, do not worry, you're not alone. By the end of this episode, you'll have a step-by-step model for creating ideas that align with your mission, your purpose, your community needs, and that will catch the attention of funders. Today, I am walking you through 5 game-changing steps to generate fundable ideas. I'll also weave in some of the biggest grant writing trends for 2025, like leveraging AI and zeroing in on measurable impact. I talked about this a couple episodes ago, so if you haven't listened to it, go back and listen and then come back to this one, okay? I do want you to know I created a special resource that accompanies today's episode. It is titled Think Like a Winner, Unlock Your Path to Fundable Ideas in 1 Day. This is a step-by-step cheat sheet to help you craft fundable ideas that stand out to reviewers and funders. The link to this resource is in the show notes, so go get it. Click the link and it will be sent to you immediately. It'll be sent to your email immediately. So please go take a listen. All right. I need you to grab a pen, your favorite notebook, or your app, whatever it is you use to take notes, and let's dive in. Okay, so again, we're talking about how to conceptualize a fundable idea. And we're going to go over a few different steps. The very first step is know your strengths, know your superpowers, whatever those strengths are, whatever those superpowers are, I need you to know them, right? And so it's important that you understand that every successful grant idea starts by understanding your unique strengths, because that's what's going to help to set you apart from other applicants. And so by strengths, I want to be clear that I mean 2 things. 1, your organization's mission and track record of success. So if your organization has a track record of winning grants, that's amazing. Maybe you don't have a track record of winning grants, but you do have a track record of doing good work in the community, receiving awards for the good work you do. Whatever it is, I need you to know your organization's mission and vision, if you have it, and be able to articulate your track record of success, however you operationally define that. The second thing I mean by strengths is your personal expertise, skills, and interests. So whatever that is, maybe you have a particular degree that you can talk about. Maybe you have specific skills that are important to the project you're wanting to propose. Maybe you have interests that, again, are important and unique. We want to be able to talk about that to paint a picture that you are the right person for the job, that your organization is the right person for the job. So we want to start out by first identifying our strengths. Who are we? What makes us unique? When these two types of strengths overlap, that is your organization's track record and your own expertise and skills, that is where the magic happens. It is at the intersection of your own personal strengths and your organization's track record. That is the grant writing sweet spot. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you run a youth development nonprofit. And so you have a nonprofit organization that runs various child developmental programs. And your mission focuses on empowering young people, and you personally have a background in maybe education. Right there, you have a good foundation to develop innovative learning initiatives, right? Because you have an organization that focuses on youth development, your organization focuses on empowering young people, and then you in particular have a background, a degree in education. The things combine to make it a beautiful opportunity to talk about how you're qualified to do this work. And I would imagine that you will be able to create and think of innovative ways of doing the work you want to do. Here is a pro tip. I want you to take 10 minutes after this episode to jot down your organization's top 3 successes, as well as your personal skills and expertise, and maybe even your own track record. So now I'm thinking about people who publish, and you have maybe published a dozen articles. You want to be able to talk about that, right? Because there are certain grants that we apply for that will require different things. Certain grants may require leadership experience. Some grants may require that you have 10 or more peer-reviewed articles. And so part of this also is understanding not only your own strengths, but also the funder. And we'll talk about that in a second. So step 1, again, is knowing your strengths, knowing your superpowers. And those vary from person to person. I do also want to say this, that as I talked about knowing your organization's track record of success, part of that for many grant applications, part of the application is a requirement that you talk about your organization's environment and their ability to support you. And so you may be talking about maybe that your organization has a library, maybe your organization has a coach who helps people after they get grants, whatever it is. But again, it's important that you understand your organization and your organization's environment, because many funders want to be sure that your organization is conducive to doing the work that you're proposing to do. Okay, step 2, community needs and significance. Community needs and significance. This step is where many people fall short, because you can't just pitch a great idea. Your idea must solve a real problem in your community. We talked about this before, where I talked about significance is a critically important part of the grant writing process. We don't write grants for the purpose of simply writing grants. We don't write grants simply because we want money. We write grants to solve problems, right? We write grants to solve problems. And so this is where you need to understand the needs of the community before you begin to write your grant. This means that you're going to have to take some time getting to know the community. This means you're going to have to get out from behind your desk and talk to stakeholders. And by stakeholders, I mean the people most interested in solving the problem you're seeking to solve. And I don't want you to miss this step, because talking to stakeholders, whoever they are, it can really shed light on the challenges that you might not see from your perspective alone. And never take for granted that you know and understand the full problem. The more people at the table, the more people you are consulting, the better, because there are multiple views, multiple realities to any problem. So I want to encourage you to make sure that the work you're doing is significant. Make sure that the work you're doing solves a problem. Make sure that you're not just doing surface level work, but that you're doing work that matters, work that is meaningful. That's where we start. We want to make sure that the work we're proposing is needed. That's another part of it. That is needed. That is not simply something that is already done or meeting a met need. We want to meet unmet needs. What is the problem and how can we solve that problem? I'll give you an example from my work. So you may recall that my research focuses on substance use prevention. So I'm really, really interested in the primary prevention of youth substance use. And so, as you might imagine, because I'm interested in preventing substance use before it really begins, that means that I'm spending a lot of my time working with youth. But I'm not only spending time working with youth, I'm also, as I'm meeting with stakeholders, the stakeholders for my population are people like parents, right? Parents are invested in youth doing well. My stakeholders include teachers, school administrators, maybe pediatricians. And so for me, before I begin a project, my goal is to talk to as many stakeholders as possible so that I can understand the core issues. I never assume that I know the problem, even though I might understand the science, I might know the literature, I might even be from that community. I do not make the assumption that I fully understand the problem. I'm not that arrogant, right? And so I want to encourage all of us to make sure we do our due diligence, that we take the time to understand the problem. And how do we do that? Again, it's by talking to stakeholders. And so after you talk to stakeholders, or maybe as a part of your overall process, I recommend that you conduct a needs assessment. And a needs assessment is going to include interviews, and those are typically one-on-one interviews where you're interviewing stakeholders. It's going to include maybe some small focus groups where you're meeting with just a few people at a time to talk to them. So maybe you go out and you meet with a group of teachers and you want to understand the problem of substance use from the teacher perspective. Or maybe you survey stakeholders. There are various ways that you can conduct a needs assessment, but in step 2, part of you understanding the needs of the community means you conducting a needs assessment. And again, that will include interviews, focus groups, and surveys with stakeholders. As a researcher, I also dive into existing data. So I want to also not only meet and talk to stakeholders, but I personally want to also understand what the data suggests. And so I'm going to be looking for reports, survey data, any stats to support and supplement the conversations that I've had with stakeholders. You can often find existing data online. And again, this existing data will help you better understand the magnitude of the problem. So if you're interested, for example, in bullying, you may talk to teachers, you may talk to parents and school administrators and school social workers, school counselors, but then you may also go online to see if YRBSS, a national data set, has any stats about the significance of the problem, the prevalence of the problem, the incidence of the problem in your community. So in addition to talking to stakeholders, we want to supplement what we learn from them with existing data. One thing I've learned along the way is funders and reviewers appreciate quantitative data. So I encourage you, as part of your needs assessment, to take the time to find the data. And sometimes you may not find the data that perfectly matches your particular research area or your problem area. And so what you'll need to do then is find data that may be similar, that gives you at least some sense of the magnitude of the problem in the community you're seeking to support. And so the combination of personal stories and perspectives from stakeholders as well as the data will help you to paint a clearer picture of the problem. And you can use that in your grant proposal as you try to understand, again, the magnitude of the problem. For scholars, any doc students or professors listening, you'll also want to dive into the scientific literature and be clear, again, about the gap that your proposed project will fill. We don't do work for the sake of doing work. We do work to fill gaps. And so I want to encourage scholars to dive into the scientific literature so that you can articulate the gap that you are seeking to fill. Being clear about the significance of the problem will be your competitive advantage. If you can be clear about how your proposed project will fill a gap, will meet a need, it will become your competitive advantage. Because funders want to see that your work directly responds to the challenges people face. If you are a person who writes NIH grant proposals, we often start by writing the specific aims page, right? So the specific aims page is a one-page overview of the project we are seeking to propose to funders. For those of us who have been trained to write NIH grants, most of us have been advised to start with the specific aims page. And truly, that is how I also start. But I want to share that my mentor, who is probably the most funded person I personally know, he starts with the significance section and he does not start with a specific aims page. So he starts by explaining why the proposed work is significant. And so maybe homework for you is, after you have taken some time to think about your strengths and your organization strengths and environment, that you should take some time to draft maybe one page describing the significance of your proposed projects. Why is this work significant? What gap does it fill? Okay, step 3 is focused on funder priorities. So this really is the alignment game, and I cannot overemphasize the importance of ensuring that your work aligns with the funder priorities. I cannot overstate that. Here's the truth. Even the best idea will not get funded if it does not align with the funder's priorities. So it's not enough to have a good idea. You have to ensure that the funder you are targeting is interested in funding your idea. And this is especially important in 2025, because my sense is that funding will become even more competitive in 2025. And so alignment is going to be extremely important, because sometimes an easy way for a funder to reject an application is by starting with whether or not it aligns with their portfolio, whether or not it aligns with their mission. And so I want you to take the time to ensure that the work you are proposing aligns with the funder's priorities. Is this something that they want to fund? And so here are some action steps I want to encourage you to follow. First, visit the funder's website and review their mission and funding guidelines. That'll let you know if they are interested in funding your work. Second, study their funding announcements or requests for proposals to see what exactly they're talking about. Oftentimes, funders will tell you what they're interested in funding. So you want to ensure that what you're proposing aligns with what you see on their website, in their funding announcements and requests for proposals. Look at examples of grants they have recently funded. So for example, if you are interested in NIH funding in particular, you're going to want to visit the NIH reporter to see what they've been funding over the past couple of years. Keep in mind that the federal government is going through a change. And so what they funded 2 years ago may not be what they're funding in 2025. And so the NIH reporter is something you should consider, but I would really recommend that you pay attention to the website where they're going to talk about their guidelines and, again, their funding announcements and requests for proposals. If after reviewing their website, funding announcements, requests for proposals, recently funded grants, if you're still unclear about their priorities, I encourage you to reach out to them and request a meeting. Many funders, especially the federal government, will meet with you and articulate their priorities. Some funders will not. Some funders will provide vague answers, and that's just the truth. And so you can still do your due diligence to try to understand as much as you can and reach out to them. But there will be a few funders who just will not provide the clarity that you may need. Okay, step 4. This is where we begin to work with our team to develop a solid grant idea. So once you've done your homework, it is time to brainstorm ideas, but you do not have to do it alone. Invite your team. If you don't have a team yet, invite your friends, colleagues, family, whoever you can to join you in a collaborative session. My mom used to always say, two minds are better than one, right? And so if you believe that collaboration will help to make your idea better, I encourage you to do that in groups. My process is to write alone. That has been what I've done most of my career, is to write alone. But even with writing alone, I will usually at some point early in the process send my idea to someone to read, review, and send me feedback. And let me just say this, make it fun, right? Make it fun. So you want to have a collaboration with your family, your friend, your teams, whoever is there, but we want to make it fun and not boring and not a chore. And so I encourage you to set some ground rules, with the first ground rule being no idea is a bad idea, right? We want all the ideas. Second, that relates to the second rule, which is focus on quantity first. So in the beginning, you just want people to share as many ideas as they have, get it all out. We can come back later and clean it up. Third, build on each other's thoughts. So if someone suggests something and you think of something, piggyback on that. It's okay to piggyback on other people's ideas. Third, keep the vibe light. So again, we don't want this to feel like a chore. We don't want people to be ready to go. We want to make it fun. It's okay to have music when they come in. It's okay to have snacks. It's okay to meet outside if you want in the sunlight. Make it a fun space, because I think if it's fun, then people will be more likely to participate and share their best ideas. And here's a pro tip. If you're meeting in person, use some sticky notes. Go back to the old way of using sticky notes if you're meeting in person. You can also, if you're meeting online, you can use virtual whiteboards. There are brainstorming apps that you can use to capture everyone's ideas. If you're meeting in Zoom, Zoom now has an AI feature that will record your meeting. And at the end of the meeting, it will send you a summary of the discussion. It is really cool. I think it's called AI Companion. So consider using AI Companion if you are meeting via Zoom. And it will not only send you the summary, but it can send a summary to anyone you want. The most creative solutions often come when you least expect them. So have fun, play games, whatever it is, to create a vibe where people are in their best moods and their best selves and able to give you some amazing ideas to help you with your grant proposal. Step 5, that's my final step for you, is to choose your idea. Choose your best idea. So after brainstorming, it's time to evaluate your ideas and choose the one with the best shot at funding. You want to look at your idea through 3 lenses, okay? We talked about this a bit. 1, significance. Does it address a major community need? Will it fill a gap? 2, innovation. Is it a fresh or unique approach? Many funders want to see innovation. 3, feasibility. Can your organization implement what you're proposing? Like, are you proposing something that you cannot implement, that you don't have the capacity yet to implement? So make sure that it's able to be implemented by your organization. And here's another, just as an aside, if you don't currently have the capacity to implement the project, I want to encourage you to partner with others in the community. You can partner with another community agency who may be able to help support you. You can partner with the university who can come in and help support you also, maybe with the evaluation plan. So when you think about feasibility, be honest with whether you are able to implement what you're proposing, and then remember that you can always partner with others. And many funders prefer that you partner with others. Many funders appreciate that you partner with others. And so I want you to think about how you demonstrate the transformative potential of your idea to funders. How will it make a measurable impact? Remember, funders want to see not just what you'll do, but how you'll measure success. If you're new to measuring outcomes and evaluating programs, again, I'd encourage you to collaborate with a researcher. You can find many researchers at universities nearby. And here's a pro tip: don't let the pursuit of perfection stop you. You want to submit your best work. You want to take this seriously, but don't allow perfection to keep you stuck. There are a lot of good ideas that are stuck in the mud. There are a lot of good ideas that are stuck on the sticky notes. There are a lot of good ideas that are stuck on pen and paper, a lot of good ideas that are stuck on people's hard drives. Many doc students have heard that we say a good dissertation is a done dissertation. And with a grant proposal, you want to have an excellent idea. You want to submit your best work. But again, if you allow perfection to hold you back, it will hold you back. So I want to encourage you to submit your best work, but don't allow perfection to keep you stuck. Focus on alignment, creativity, and impact. And remember that funders want to see you solve real problems, not just write the perfect proposal. Okay, y'all. I know I've said a lot today, so we're going to wrap it up. I want you to know that next week we're diving deeper into turning your fundable idea into a winning proposal. Trust me, you will not want to miss next week's episode. Again, don't forget the free resource that I mentioned, Think Like a Winner, Unlock Your Path to Fundable Ideas in One Day. It's your perfect starting point to turn your big ideas into funded realities. The link is in the show notes, so grab it now. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend who could use some clarity on their grant writing journey. Together, we can make grant writing purposeful, clear, and wildly successful. Even now, we can still move forward, and I encourage you to keep moving forward. Thank you so much for joining me today on Grant Writing Made Clear. I know you could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here with me, and I say thank you. Until next time, keep dreaming big and writing. Take good care. Thank you for listening to Grant Writing Made Clear. I hope today's episode gave you inspiration, confidence, and clear information that you can turn into action. Remember, you are not alone. There's a whole community here striving for the same impact. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, leave a quick review to help more people find the show, and share this episode with others in your network. It really does make a difference. For more grant writing tips and resources, follow me on social media. Until next time, keep showing up, keep learning, and remain determined. I'll talk to you next time. Goodbye for now.